To begin this lesson, I'll just delete this layer and create a fresh one, and rotate my view to get a better look at the model. Now, one of the features that makes Painter unique when it first launched are its particle painting tools. Much like the brushes, these presets are located in the shelf under Particles. We have a host of particle presets like leaks, rain, and burn brushes. Now these brushes are very different from the standard brushes, so it'll take a lot of experimentation to get used to how these work. Let's first try out the rain particle brush by double clicking on it. And I'll change my base color to something a little bit darker so we can see the effect. And what I'll do is hold left click in the viewport, and you'll see particles will rain from the sky. Because we'll be experimenting a lot this lesson, always remember that you can press Ctrl Z to undo any brush strokes. Let's try the burn brush. To use this one, I'll usually hold left click and slowly brush along areas, and we can see that we can get this nice burn effect. Now if we want to adjust the parameters on the particle brushes, they're located in the properties panel. Unlike the standard brushes, there's a lot more different settings that you can change. Also, each particle brush has its own set of parameters that are unique to the brush. So looking at the burn parameters, if we choose the leak brush, the settings completely change to the parameters that are unique to the leaks only. And I'll just paint a little bit here on the front to show the brush in action. So understanding all the different dials are a little bit out of the scope of this course, but let's go over some of the ones that I usually use when it pertains to the leak brush. To control the size of the particles, this relates to the size of your brush. So I'll just increase my brush using the bracket keys and paint a little bit. And you'll notice we get some larger particles projecting onto the mesh. The first parameter that we're going to look at is gravity. With the gravity set to 1, this will pull the particles downwards. So if we increase this, the particles will slide downwards much quicker than before. Now if we set this to 0 and begin painting, they will just sit at the point of origin. Now with the gravity off, we can adjust the global wind. And what this will do is blow the particles on any given axis. So let's adjust the Z to -1 and paint on the mesh. You'll notice the particles will start going towards that axis. Also, they don't really go too far, and that's because the particles have a very, very short lifespan and they die off far too quick. What we can do is up the particle life, which will extend how long they'll live, which can make the streaking more effective. The great thing about these particle brushes is they respect the normal map. To demonstrate this, I'll reset the brushes back to default by re-clicking on the leaks brush in the shelf. Now things are getting a little bit messy, so I'll just clear off my layer and make a new one. I'll increase the gravity factor and paint along here where we have a panel line. You'll notice the particles will begin to build up on this area. Now to control this, we can adjust the normal factor. The higher the value, the more the normal map will affect the particles. So I'll change this to 4 and begin painting on another area. And you'll notice that the particles will build up a little bit more along the normal map. So in this lesson, we've just scratched the surface of painting with particles. But we'll be taking advantage of these to do our dirt pass later on. So we've covered a few different ways of applying materials to our mesh. In our next lesson, we'll discuss my favorite way, using the fill layer.